There is always a sense of great pride when I meet a fellow Mizo in the corporate sector. Not many of us from this highly underrepresented state of Mizoram reach the table of decision makers in this industry, and I found one who does. In his family, he's the first computer science engineer. He's also the first corporate professional. He's also the first to meet the love of his life, also Mizo, in New York City. He's also the first to leave his job in New York to follow his girl to Mizoram. And he's also the first to come back with his girl and two beautiful daughters to work and live in the US. You want to know more? Stay put and join me in conversation with Zuala from Chicago, Illinois. And I'm Candy, your host for the show. I hope you enjoy yourself and do not forget to hit that subscribe button. Good morning, Zuala. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
It's great to have you. Something that's really interesting to begin with is your name. Not so interesting if we limit ourselves to Mizoram.
Right.
But back at home,
Right.
in Mizoram or in Aizawl, you were called Lalmama.
Yeah.
But that had to change drastically when you went to the mainland. Can you begin your story, your name story first?
Yeah, my name is Lalhmangaihzuala. My nickname used to be Lalmama or Mama, which is pretty common, as you know, right, back home again. But, as I was went to Delhi and I started my studies, I realized that Mama is probably not a good nickname to have, though. I pretty much had to rebrand myself and kind of took the last five, letters of my name. That's how I became Zuala.
I like the way you said, I can't be everybody's mama.
Yeah, exactly.
Class 10 is one of the most significant milestones, at least as Indians. And
Right.
you being, the super student all your life that you were, you managed to kind of come 11th and missed the 10th position by 1 mark. And this, I'm talking about, all Mizoram rankings. You were almost famous. The top 10 students were called on at Vanapa Hall.
Yeah, I mean, they get all sorts of, publicity.
Yeah.
Sure.
And you kind of missed that by 1 point. So can you tell us
Yeah.
how you feel at that point in time?
I think, at that point, it was obviously a little bit disappointing, but I think, as my dad, I think, said at the time, God pretty much placed us exactly where we were supposed to be. If we were in the top 10, we probably would be too much for us to handle or whatever, but, and I think that kind of, rings true today as well. I think, as I look back, I don't even remember it. In the grand scheme of things in your career or as you progress, it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. I mean, it helps definitely, but it's a marathon, right? So that was just one of the, the race.
What you said about, your father saying God always places us at the right place at the right time. Maybe now when I think about it, when you say you wouldn't have been able to handle the limelight, maybe, if you were in the top 10, arrogance would have played.
Yeah, that's possible.
That's a possibility, right?
Yeah.
And probably, the 1 mark kept you humble and made you a better person. I don't know, just thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, everything happens for a reason, right?
And then when there was the all Mizoram entrance test for engineering,
right,
you came 3rd, which is better than 11th for sure. So was that your moment of redemption? And I'm only talking about the, it in the context of you being a 17 or an 18-year-old, right?
I think it was sort of a turning point in my career, in my life as well. I mean, it helped that I was in the top 3 because obviously you choose the colleges based on the rankings. The person who placed 2nd actually didn't take engineering; he went to medical. So technically, I became the 2nd. And then the college that I chose there were only 2 seats for computer science. So pretty much I got that seat, and I'm grateful, to God and to everybody, my parents, for and to be in that position to choose the college that I wanted at the time. So,
I can just picture you, walking into that hall, and you have like these guys asking you which college do you want, and you actually handpicking what you want. I think that's a pretty big deal.
And I think, being in, kind of like a minority back home, I think we fortunately have that advantage that certain colleges reserve, certain seats for our state, right? Which, is a privilege. Because of the college, I got the job that I got today, and the career that I have.
That's true. And that's a completely different subject when we talk about reservations and, the controversies that surround it.
I understand where kind of the folks that are against like reservations are coming from too, right? I feel their pain as well.
Which will take me to our next question, right? In the corporate world today, being a minority, our footprint is almost negligible. So first definitely is, representation. The second thing is you being where you are today, a successful corporate leader in one of the biggest banks. And I think it's the biggest bank in America, actually. How would you sell the corporate career to people, especially in the Northeast? I mean, we have so many smart young people,
right?
And everybody today still thinks that, the government job or being the IAS officer or the doctor is really the right place to be if you are as smart as you are, No,
there's a reason why we love our hometown and our, the Northeast in general, because it's so different, right, from the mainland India. So, being able to work back home, close to friends and family, I think it's kind of one of the main reasons why people tend to kind of go back after college and look for a job back home, right? But I mean, we know the situation of the job market. It's very competitive, and there's not a lot of corporate jobs out there, right? So you definitely have to kind of move out. The corporate world can be challenging for sure. I mean, it's, you put in long hours and you are constantly, measured or graded based on your performance, right? So, and that can be, if you think about that, it can be kind of intimidating at first, but you realize that it's actually, as you kind of get used to being graded based on your performance, you realize that it's actually pretty fair in the sense that, if you do well in a corporate world, you move up the ladder. It's as simple as that. Now you get to work with so many different people. And I think as folks from such a tiny state back home, I think there's a level of intimidation, when you move out of your state, especially when you're not, exposed to certain cultures, and it gives you a lot of confidence as well. You get to travel, right? Which is a big deal for me. Like for those of you who are like interested in adventure, traveling the world, I think the corporate world gives you a good opportunity, right?
So I'll quickly summarize that. The first thing is performance versus longevity in a certain role. I think if you do well, irrespective of who you are, you're paid your dues. The second thing, which I, more than the first, I think it's the second thing, which is, the intimidation of just being out there. I think we find it so difficult to get out of our comfort zones, face the fear, because a lot of us can't do that. I think that's the second point, which makes a lot of sense. And the third thing, and I was like, when is he going to get to that? Which is the travel, man. I mean, if you do well, look at you. I mean, you've gone all over. I've been to at least 7 countries without having to pay.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
And they fly you, business class most of the time, to which is impossible, right? With your personal.
Okay, wait. I think you may set wrong expectations there. It's business class only when you are a VP like Zuala.
Okay. Yeah, I guess it depends.
You have to earn that, guys. You really have to earn that. I mean, you're not going to be working 2 years in a corporate setting and they send you business class. No, it doesn't work like that. One quick question. At any point of time, did you face racial discrimination?
Diversity, inclusion is always a big topic in every corporate world, right? I'm fortunate enough to, I think, work in an environment where, the folks that I've worked with, I don't think it ever come up. I've always worked with teams and people that, see past your race or your color or whatever. Yeah.
Fantastic. And that's another very important point why, people should join the corporate, because I agree with you. I mean, I think outside of the office, definitely,
Yeah.
I've been called names, I've been pushed, I've been kicked,
Absolutely.
I've been pinched, I mean, all sorts of crazy things. But I think for me, the office became like a safe space most
Right.
of the times,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
What is your American dream?
I was discussing with this with my wife, and the American dream, as you call it, can invoke all sorts of debate of whether it still exists or whether it's a myth.
Yeah.
For me personally, I think, yeah, I mean, to be able to work here and probably build a good future for my kids, that's for me is a humble dream, right? And I think education here is pretty awesome. So being able to provide the level of education that I never had to experience for myself, I think is one of the dreams that I had.
And when you say education, I'll just like to add a well-rounded education, right? Because
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
what you and I got in terms of education in India was very bookish.
yeah,
But
yeah,
the kind of
absolutely.
education that even 2-3-year-olds go through in this country is
Right.
very different.
I mean, it's amazing. Like, I mean, just to add on to that point, right? Because I look at my my younger one. She just finished kindergarten, right? At such a young age, they're taught to think for themselves, right? They're given opinion, like to express their opinions, and I think that's a very empowering thing. And I understand how that can shape them to be the person that they're hopefully will be in the future, right? Of the level of confidence or that they're gonna gain by being like that at such a young age.
Yeah, yeah. If you weren't an engineer, what would you have been?
Yeah, that's a good question. I haven't really had a much thought about it because from such a young age, I think I've always, like I said, been fascinated by computers, bro. So I think I've always wanted to be a computer engineer. I think there was maybe a point in time when IAS, as you said before, right? Because that was every parent's dream, either IAS or doctors.
A short message for your two beautiful girls.
Listen to your mother. They can't go wrong if they listen to their mother, because she's. I think they're lucky to have her as a role model. In terms of, I guess, relationship, watch out for guys that would make you quit your job. You definitely want to find somebody that can support you in your career.
Find an equal player
Yeah,
in a
absolutely.
relationship.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so important. That's so important. Your wife's Instagram handle is called Donuts and Subways. And I know that, that holds a big significance in both of your lives. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Donuts and Subways, I think she put that while she was in New York, right? So she used to ride the New York subway a lot, eating donuts, I guess. We actually met in New York, right? Which, of all places, I was working at the time for Infosys, and she came to the US on she got a scholarship. She did her postdoc in NYU University, and after that in Princeton. Sort of a friend of a friend type of situation where somebody said that this guy is there, I should contact him and stuff like that. So that happened, and I helped look for apartments and things like that, and that's how we became friends. And we eventually, I guess, fell in love, and the rest is history, as they said it. The funny thing is, we're actually pretty close neighbors back home. So I can literally see her house from my house. Like, there's only like a stair that goes in between our houses, right? So, and we never knew each other. So, we somehow ended up meeting in New York, fell in love, and she went home, and then I pretty much followed her home.
Yeah, what are the odds, right? I mean, first of all, I've never heard of two Mizos meeting in a different country, especially probably in the US, and that to New York.
Yeah, it's kind of like straight out of, like you said, Meg Ryan movie or something.
Yeah. You obviously just talked about it in one line, but she going back after her postdoc,
Right.
and you going back after her, to kind of, you're like, to hell with everything else. Let me go get my girl. I think all of that is just so romantic and so sweet.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
yeah, definitely. I mean, I think there's always a point in time, I think, in your life where you have to choose your, your personal life over your career, right? So, and I think for me, that was the moment. It's follow your heart, I guess. That was what I did back then. And it worked out pretty well. So, yeah.
How did your folks react to all of this? I mean, you've been this guy, like doing well all your life. And how did leaving all of that, and you had no clue, nobody knows the future, nobody knew you'd come back to Chicago,
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
you had like the dream life, but you chose to kind of go back home because of a girl. How did they swallow that pill?
Yeah, I mean, I think, my parents, they've always been supportive, and I really appreciate them for that. And I think, they understood that I was falling in love, so they were very supportive, and we pretty much, I think, got married like soon after I went home. Not a lot of people would do that, right? Especially after they landed in the US, right? They'll probably be like, oh, there's a lot of fishes in the sea, but there was only one fish. Yeah.
She's gonna love this part. That's awesome. Follow your heart.
Yeah, absolutely.
Zuala is cool. Be like Zuala. Follow your heart.
Yeah, there's a lot of companies that you can switch to, or lots of other opportunities in the corporate world. But your love life, not so much. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. Absolutely. And I think you did the right thing. And look at you guys now. You're back to
exactly.
where it all started.
Yeah, absolutely.
Welcoming Zuala to Candid with Candy's Rapid Fire. You better get them right. Question number 1. Your wife's favorite color?
White. It keeps changing, so that's why I'm
Terry, he's doing guesswork. Chloe is crazy about?
Unicorn.
See, that you were pretty sure. Faith hates?
She hates food that smells.
Oh, really? At 7 p.m. on Saturday, we'd catch you?
Outside, sitting on the porch.
New York is?
Where we met.
What is your favorite Mizo food?
Smoked pork.
I can't stand?
Gossip.
I admire?
Confident people.
Do you have a favorite word or a favorite line?
Love conquers all, maybe.
Chicago or Aizawl?
Can I say both?
No.
Aizawl. Yeah.
Work from home, yay or nay?
Yay. Yeah, always yay.
Thank you so much for your time. I had a great time.